everybody. Thanks for coming back to Manny's Irish Pub. We're here on Friday, July the 9th, 2021. I'm going to get things rolling here. We're going to have Adam Trigger coming on in about 5 minutes. I'm just going to quickly run through the golf and also the tremendous show I had today with Paul Carr of True Media Sports about the Euro 2020. He's been on my show several times, and he is undefeated, and it's not because I'm a lucky charm. It's because he's just a brilliant mind that knows the soccer sport better than I can even begin to put in words. So we're going to take a look at the soccer now. We've played 50 of 51 of the Euro 2020 matches, and only one remains now. It's Italy against England. England is playing basically a home game at Wembley. Italy dominated the group stage and continued their winning ways through the knockout rounds. England was the tournament favorite from the start. They had a fairly easy path, I think a little bit harder than the media was making it out to be, but they're there. First time in 55 years playing in front of the home folks in the finals. Really great stuff for them. Italy's manager, Roberto Mancini, has built a team with tremendous chemistry, and it was notable right when the Euro 2020 started that this was a special team. They have excellence in attacking, and they have a defensive grit as well that matches England. And this is going to be England's toughest game by far of the Euro 2020. And Mancini is no newbie to the English style and strategy of soccer. He coached Man City for 4 years and won the Cup in 2011, which was that club's first major win in over 35 years. So you have to ask yourself, is he going to spoil 55 years for the English here? Who knows? We're going to have to find out Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Sorry, I just had the thing go in my headphone here. But anyway, Southgate is the manager of England, and he too is the heart and soul of that team. No question about it. They have won 33 consecutive games and appear to be the team of destiny playing in front of their fans at Wembley. So I asked Paul Carr, being 55 years, 33-game win streak, and 60,000 fans at Wembley with the possibility of having 90,000 in the stands, is that going to be a factor in the game in terms of the pressure that is going to be on this team from England? And he emphatically thought, it can be a factor, but this team is so seasoned, so ready to win this thing that it will not be a factor. The loss of left-sided midfielder Leonardo Spinazzola is a major one. In fact, it was so major that the team dedicated their semi-final match to him in their win over Spain. And they dedicated that game to him before the semi-final started. So that's a huge loss. But Paul indicated that you got to watch the left side of Italy's attacking formation so that you watch the replacements that are in there, and he feels that they're going to be more than adequate to offset the loss of Spinazzola in this finals match. So when you're watching on TV, it would be Italy's left side as they're going towards the England goal. That's the key part of this game, in his opinion. England has no injuries, but they also have one less day of rest than Italy, having played their semifinal the day after Italy won. That too could be a factor because this has been a 4-week tournament. And then you have the club season, which is long and grueling. And it could be a slight advantage to Italy. So Paul thought, and I asked him about weather. We're going to have scattered showers in the forecast at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is 8 o'clock London time. But that's not going to be too much of a factor. These guys are used to playing in all kinds of terrible conditions. And, short of any lightning, which is rare in that type of part of England, they're going to play through anything. It's going to be 65 degrees. It could be a little damp, but who knows? But his play is England to raise the cup, minus 120. He had a couple prop bets, too, that were very exciting to tail, and I'm definitely tailing them, so I encourage you to watch the show. And you can get the summary right at the end, so don't worry about listening to the whole thing, but it is only a 17-minute segment, so listening to what he has to say is highly recommended. Now we're going to move over to golf here quick, and I don't know if Max on Record is in the house or not, but we're going to quickly go over the tour. On the PGA Tour, we're at the John Deere Classic in Quad Cities, Iowa. And Sebastian Munoz here is first. Oh, no, it just changed. Patrick Cantley is in the lead, and that's no, that was a different leaderboard. That was the FedEx Cup. So Sebastian Munoz, I was right the first time. Titleist ball player. He's 12 under. He's 4 under. Shot 63 the first round, 67 today. Luke List, a name that was rising up several years ago, 2 years ago, before the COVID. He's in second at 12 under. Adam Schenk is 11 under in third place by himself. And of course, Tony Finn and I have this ongoing bitter, very bitter. I mean, he's backstage and he can hear everything I'm saying. Bitter rivalry between Tyrrell Hatton, who I keep scrolling down here. I'm having trouble finding him. He must not have done all that well, or he's still on the course. Let's see where he's at here, because this is hugely important. Tyrrell Hatton. We're looking here. We're looking for Morikawa, too. Well, I'll do that next. So this is the John Deere Classic, and the reason I couldn't find them is because they're playing the Scottish Open. It's Friday afternoon. I just got a little absent-minded there. But on the European Tour here, we have the leaderboard, and this is a great tournament. This is one of 4 Rolex events in the European Tour, and when you say Rolex in the European Tour, that's a big deal. And this is a prep tournament basically for the world's best ahead of St. George's next week, starting on Thursday for the British Open. Jon Rahm has shot 66, 65 through 2 rounds. He's number 1 player in the world. And he is tied for first place with a gentleman named Jack Sr., who is 353rd in the world, and Dietrich Thomas, who is 100th in the official world golf rankings. So interesting that we have a 353rd player tied with Jon Rahm, who's number 1. Odds obviously are very heavily favored in Jon Rahm to win this event. Lee Westwood shot 65, 67 as the elder statesman in this event. He's 28th in the world. And now we can look at where our bitter rivals are between the Finn and Ryan. So let's see here. Let's see. Just bear with me 1 second here. There he is. Tyrrell Hatton shot 67 today. He is the number 10 player in the official golf rankings in the world, so he's an elite player. He's one that could definitely win the British Open next week, has all the talent in the world. He shot 69, 67. He's 6 under right now, and Morikawa is... let's see, I know he's going to be behind, but that's what we want. He's 1 shot behind. But this is a 4-day event, Mr. Finn, and Colin Morikawa shot 70, 67. He's the number 4 player in the world. Xander Schauffele's in the same spot here, number 5. But this is getting me pumped up for next week, because we'll have at least 3 British Open shows next week, starting on Tuesday with Nick Borman and then David Behrman of ESPN. Nick Borman obviously is the PGA professional for WagerTalk.com and 2 of the best golf bettors I have ever met, period. David Behrman is 12 out of 14 events, has shown significant profits. He's called the winner in 2 of those events. And Nick Borman is 6 out of 7 events, and he also called the winner in 1 of those events, separate from the one with David. So you can imagine how happy I am to interview them. I'm going to bring on Adam Trigger and Tony Finn now. Morikawa's one behind.
I put those. I put it in the chat. I put this where they were. I didn't know if you saw that or not, but Hatton's -6. So officially, I win because I did mention that he would be ahead when the cut happened. So that would make me the winner, right?
I apologize on behalf of Adam Trigger for having to tolerate this nonsense. Tony Finn, PGA plays 4 days in a row.
They do,
and it's all aggregate. It's aggregate, just like in the European soccer leagues.
Why do they have a cut?
To make the tournament go faster on the weekend and pay less people.
Do they have any props that are connected to a player making the cut?
Yeah.
Don't call my suggestions nonsense. I invented this prop.
I know one of your good friends and pal who lives in Las Vegas is. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a message from him today to say what is my expectation for the cut line. Maybe because we're having
that must be Las Vegas Chris, because
that would be correct.
Yeah, I don't. You know me. I don't leave the house. People don't like me, so I don't have many friends. They think
you survived your family visit unscathed, uninjured.
I survived that. I mean, but it's an ongoing thing. It lasts till July 31st.
That is aggregate.
3 different.
That is very much aggregate.
We have the hillbilly side coming in. We got the Russian side coming in. We have all kinds here in a town where, is probably and I know that people will argue with me on this, but don't listen to them. This town, people really don't care who you are or what you are. You're pretty free to do whatever you want to do as long as you're not bothering someone, breaking, torturing the law, and you're free to be yourself. So I say that in loving terms when I mention that my wife's side of the family are hillbillies. It's a loving. I say it in a loving way. I say it almost every day too. Yeah. But us Russians, we love Putin, and we support Putin.
You said you love pudding?
Yeah, pudding and Putin. In fact, Putin pudding is yeah.
That's the pudding that has the lumps in it, right?
Well, those are.
Sick.
I think that's nuclear waste. Those lumps. So be careful of those lumps.
Very interesting.
Yeah. How we doing, you guys? I really have a tall glass of tequila with just a splash of OJ, waiting by poolside. And I think it's my birthday, so my wife, I think she got me a present. I think it's a topless woman will be serving me these tequilas all afternoon. So I have a good wife. She's a good girl. So let's get on with the free play.
Senile. Is it really your birthday?
No.
Again?
It made the story better, didn't it?
It did. It did. Yeah. It really did. Because I know that Joe D'Amico blew off your birthday last week that we set for a party, and now he's not here again.
I haven't talked to Joe in about a couple weeks, but I will say this: my lovely and dear wife, tells me all the time, says, Tony, I don't think that's the way it happened. And I tell her, I say, listen, please be quiet. I'm making the story better.
Embellishing, augmenting.
I call it creative writing or creative speaking.
That's there's a TV channel called LMN that's like that too.
Yeah,
it's all kinds of creative writing.
Well,
so what do we got going on today? How did everybody do yesterday? I mean, I had some great. I had a perfect day going yesterday. Perfect until the final scores came in.
Well, Well, I had a perfect day. I played one game. I took the Mariners plus 1.5, and it was one of the easier ones I've had all week. So can't complain.
I had the Royals as a dog. I had Detroit as a dog. So those two, right off the bat, I think I lost both of those. One in a walk-off, and one and that was a 3-run bottom of the ninth walk-off. And Detroit, I think I had a 5-0 lead and lost that. Listen, I have lost some. I have had 18 results that have either won or lost in the ninth inning this year. That I think, or extra innings. 8. That's a lot, I think. And here's the beauty for that. The beauty is that of those, I've won 4 of them.
Oh yeah, that's tough.
Wow.
I feel like I've been on the wrong side of a couple ninth innings as well.
And I don't usually, listen, I rarely say anything about those things or tweet or anything like that, because guess what? Typically, what goes around comes around. You're going to win some of those, you're going to lose some of those. But the last couple of years, this pandemic is kind of, it hasn't been, they haven't come around yet, so I'm still waiting. Come on.
Interesting. I know the only game I lost was the game you won.
Which, Philly?
No, Philly won. 8-0.
Yeah, I had Philly. I did win. I went 1-2 in baseball, and I covered the over came home in the NBA game again.
And I was the under.
Yeah, well, I talked to you about that yesterday. I said, John.
Well,
here's why.
Stand by my decision.
I said it's going to go over, despite the fact that Middleton and the rest of the hillbillies that play on that Philadelphia roster are going to be like 7 for 70 from 3-point land. No, now it's getting interesting, guys. That's now the series gets interesting. I'm still kind of a lone wolf on the Suns 4-0 sweep. I didn't think the price was right. I didn't think it was enough, so I didn't play it, but I've been recommended to play it. Now it's down to 320, plus 320 for that. And I don't recommend that at all. I mean, if it's only plus 320, here's what I'm going to say you're going to be able to do probably, and that is, let's look at the money line of the game 3. I think we're plus 170, plus 160 or something on Suns.
So if you go game 3,
I guess I
game
can
4,
pull it
money
up.
line,
Yeah,
you
I would
make a
say
better return.
Exactly right. At this point in time, I think you get a better return than your 3-1 if you just play the money line on the Suns game 3, game 4. And there you are. That's correct. That's where I was going with that, Johnny.
And just to those that are coming on now, I did beginning of the show, and you want to know this too, Tony, because I know you like tailing this guy. Paul Carr was my guest today for Euro 2020.
That's soccer?
That is soccer.
Yeah, I know a little bit about soccer.
It's played with a big ping pong ball.
I know that the best soccer players in the world, I know where you can find them. Them.
England and Italy.
Before they even play soccer, I know where you can find them. And where is that?
It's at Wembley Stadium in
London.
London is where they're playing.
Drama class in high school.
All right, well, Brazil and Argentina are playing this weekend, too. They're playing tomorrow night. There's going to be like 8 cards. There actually is a line for it. I would bet over right now.
Did you hear what I said? Where you find the best soccer players?
No, where?
Drama class in high school. Those guys are the best soccer players.
Well, don't the cleats scrape up the wood floor on the stage?
Well, they're not the players.
That's kind of weird.
According to the players, if you're too close to them and you're fighting for the ball and you fart, that they will fall over and claim mortal wound.
All right, I take offense to that.
Advantage.
I've been playing soccer my whole life. It's a great game. There's absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing soft about it. I've been playing my whole life, and it's that couldn't be further. I actually can't stand when people say that, because that couldn't be further. Couldn't be further from the truth. And you'll be hard pressed to find better athletes than the ones you see out that play soccer at that level.
Well, no,
I never said Tony.
I never said they were bad
look
athletes.
at any major sport.
90
I never
minutes
said they
of
weren't.
running
I
around
never
is
said they
pretty
were.
good.
I do agree they embellish a little bit, like on the fouls, and you see it actually more, I think, with the South American players, even more. I mean, it's like an art to them, which is annoying. It is true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's annoying. It's a way to deceive the official to try to draw a foul.
Yes.
But
You talking about the NBA or soccer?
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, no.
I will say this. You see, it's also that applies to the best athletes in the world. Are NBA basketball players. Soccer, I think they're right there.
Oh, I disagree with that.
Well, I'm sure you do. You're a soccer player.
Yeah, but you think why do the best athletes in the world need a day off every 2 games? Like,
Well, I'll tell you why. Are you trying to say that
Soccer
soccer
has a day
players?
off, too.
Yeah, you don't say
best
soccer players don't have a day off?
They play 90 minutes and then these guys play 12 months a year. They don't ever have time off.
Well, there's
get
no
like
off.
2
There's
weeks.
no off season. There's no off season in basketball. There's
That
no off
is
season in any professional sport.
NBA has to be the least. Like, I mean, that has to be the least. Like, I mean, maybe other than baseball. I don't.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me throw a hypothetical.
I can settle
at you.
this.
All right, listen. I'd love
I'm
to
the host.
listen, I'd love to sit here and go about this all day, but I gotta go soon. So either you guys want a free play or not. I'll give one right now if you want it. Otherwise, I gotta take it.
See, this is why I have no friends.
I don't know. Tony, should we flip a coin or? I'm just kidding.
That's why I have no friends. Damn it. People, I'm not saying they're.
He's going to do his free pick on KBO,
Yeah, okay.
so this is going to be really
All right,
interesting.
all right,
Let him do his free pick, and I'll do my free pick
Yep.
on the Barnum and Bailey League.
All right. Well,
Here we
we're
go.
gonna switch
KBO.
gears here for a second. So I have 2 plays today. One's a 5-unit play. You can find it on my page at Sports Memo. I'm also on Twitter at TopPlateSI. It's up now. I'm 6-1 in my last. Well, 5-1 in my last 6 baseball plays. 6-1 in my last 6. I'm sorry. Let me restart that. 5-1 in my last 6 MLB plays. I'm 6-1 in my last 7 baseball overall. So the 5-unit plays in MLB, it goes tonight. But I have a 4-unit play in the KBO. I'm one of the only people still covering this at Sports Memo. I'm 19-13 on the year, plus 21 units, and I have a play on Saturday morning that was actually supposed to be this morning, but the game got called off due to 2 of the NC Dinos players having COVID, which I thought we were past that, but apparently we are not. So I looked into it a little bit. I don't think I'm not sure if they're even going to play this game tomorrow morning. As of right now, it's still on the schedule. I don't think the guys that have it are huge impact guys. So I'm going to go forward as long as the game is played. And I'm going to make my play, which was a paid play yesterday. It's a 4-unit play. And I'll be reposting it as a 4-unit play. The NC Dinos. They're playing the Kaiwum Heroes. And looks like, so I gave this out yesterday at minus 130. It looks like when it was reposted, it's up to minus 135, minus 140 some places. I still think that's fine. I still like that for a price on this pick on the Dinos here. NC Dinos won this league last year. They're the defending champions. Got off to a slow start this year, but they're starting to come around. They've battled back to over 500. And what I think is interesting about this team is they can really hit, and now they're starting to hit for average in addition to power. So they have, in addition to one other team, there are 30 home runs ahead of the rest of the league. So you have 2 teams that have hit substantially more home runs than any other team in the league. The Dinos are one of them. Kaiwum is not. And now you have the Dinos starting to hit for average. They're up to 273 as a team, 4th in the league. So they're starting to get timely hits, and they're starting to do more than just try to kill the ball, which I think is part of the reason they've started to win games. They have one of their import starters on the mound, which means it's a foreign pitcher. It's probably someone you might remember if you're a baseball fan. It's Wes Parsons. He used to be on the Braves for a short period of time. He's got a 3.80 ERA and 1.35 WHIP this year, but he struggled with the team he's facing today. I think that's a little overblown here. The last time he faced Kaiwum, they hit him pretty hard. Since then, he's given up 3 earned runs or less in 8 of 9 starts. So I really think this is his first year in the KBO. I think he's finally learning the league. NC has the better bullpen, and Kyrune sending a pitcher to the mound. In his last name is Han. I'm not going to attempt to try to pronounce it. Decent numbers, but I think there's some fatigue here. He hasn't lasted more than 5 innings in over a month, which means you're going to get a Kyrune bullpen here that has a team ERA of 5 and is one of the lesser units in the league. So I just think NC's the better team. I think we're catching them on the upswing here. I think it's a good opportunity to buy low on the defending champs, and I think we see them kick it into another gear over the next month or so. So I'm going to lay the minus 135. NC Dinos, KBO, 5 a.m. Saturday morning on the East Coast, 2 a.m. Vegas time.
That sounds great. What do you think of that, Tony?
Perfect.
I'm not
I love
expecting
the team name Dinos.
Tony Finn might remember Wes Parsons.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wes Parsons. Yeah. There's quite a few guys that have played that have been successful.
Tony, do you remember Wes?
Go ahead.
And,
I'm sorry, you broke up on me, buddy. What did you say? Was it repeat?
oh yeah, I was going to say there's guys that have been successful that are now. There's guys that have been successful that are back in the majors that
Yes,
have
absolutely.
success. in
Absolutely.
KBO.
Yes, there are many. Some were successful. Some were really successful. Miko for St. Louis was really successful his first year back. He's been tortured by injuries and some regression, or maybe some major league bats since then. But yeah, a lot of guys who've played in Asia. Some resurrected their careers in Asia. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. What happened to Adam? I guess.
I think we had a bad connection or something happened there.
Yeah.
Plus, he didn't want to hear me. He didn't like what I had to say about soccer.
I've had that discussion many times in my life, and I'm sure you have too, Tony.
Yeah, I have.
I always
I'm
you
always
know what draws
right.
it out? We'll have like a pentathlon of these professional athletes.
Mm-hmm.
We will play sports that have nothing to do with any of their number one sports. So we will have volleyball.
Yeah.
What were the other ones I had? Anyway, I had 3 sports. And then that always came to the NBA players.
Yeah.
Because of eye-hand coordination, much more demanding in that sport. You still need the foot quickness. Yep. I would think that an NBA player could probably learn skills.
Do you know how many
soccer.
professional soccer players there are in the world, John?
I don't.
Well, let's just be
It's a huge
vanilla.
sport.
Yeah, there are more professional soccer players than any other professional athlete. There are more of them. Now, obviously, there are levels, but my argument's always with I stick by it. The story, it's, and I say this in a loving way because I've offended people when I've said this too, and that is that the NBA players are not just the best athletes. They're freaks. They're circus freaks. They are exactly how Barnum and Bailey got rich.
That's true.
Yes, it is. And they do
That's
things.
a big law firm in Boston, I think, right?
Yeah, they do things that the best athletes or the second best athletes in the world or soccer players can't do. I mean, when you're 7 foot and can shoot a 3-pointer with any guard, with the best guards in the league, out rebound them, and there's just and still run a 5K almost every night of the week. You know, they are what they can do athletically for their size. That's why you saw like the the bearded lady. You know, they are a rare commodity. It's a rare commodity.
Yes,
the NBA players, right?
True. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And that's that. I mean, they're the best athletes. So I'm not saying soccer players aren't good
take a
athletes.
look to your left. You'll see a friend of yours, Steve Merrill. But
Let me see. Well, Steve Merrill doesn't like
Oh
me
no!
either,
See,
so.
I had over a minute before he'd realize I was on, John, and you just gave.
Well,
me
I never have
gave him
the
inside information that just cost me my bet there.
I never put this. You know, like the pictures of you guys, the screenshots that we have, the virtual studio. I never put that up. I never look at it. I never pay attention to it. Why? Because I don't think you guys are. You're not worthy of one of my screens. You're not good enough looking.
Oh, you don't
So
have
I
a
just
menu
turned it
right
off.
now?
Huh?
I can see you clearly.
Yeah. Well, guess what? Will you get that Q? I got a Q-tip here. Can you clean that ear for me, please?
I just want to know what that couple behind him that's having dinner on the screen is doing because they haven't moved.
Well,
for like
they're-
the
I
2
know.
minutes I've been
They're
on.
getting divorced.
They haven't
They-
moved since
no.
I've been on. I think they're
Well, that's
mesmerized.
because
Look at that
they're
guy.
not
They got the.
There you go, movie. Yeah, right there. See, yeah, that guy, like, he literally's
Yeah.
been. It's like Tony's like Medusa. Freezes
Well,
him into stone.
It has to be a divorce, Steve. It
It-
has to.
well,
The
if it
guys know
wasn't-
this. The
If
guys
it
know
wasn't,
this.
if
I
you
gave
could
him a
have the best marriage
Quaalude.
on earth, and if you took
I
me
gave
to
him
Tony,
a
if I took you to
Quaalude
a nice
before
dinner and I had
dinner.
to watch Tony Finn go off for a half hour, it would lead to divorce. So that's a 100% certainty at this
They're on
point.
Quaaludes
Yeah.
and
And-
methadone.
You know what's worse?
Why are they
Because
on
looking at the back
methadone? Well,
of
because
Tony
they're
Finn's head.
ex-heroin addicts that do Quaaludes. That's what they're.
Tony not only does not have the video of us up, but he doesn't have the audio of us either, I think.
No.
Did you say something? The guys that can't hear you.
Exactly.
Isn't it? I think my fifth grade teacher told me that in order to learn, your mouth must be shut. No, that was
Yeah.
actually my track coach.
Then that
in
answers
high
why
school.
my IQ it's 82.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
you have a good
that
IQ.
answers all those questions.
Tony was
82,
on the
I'm
mean
with a good
streets of
IQ
Manhattan,
and not learn
Kansas, or
anything.
Lawrence by the age of 5th grade.
But that IQ test is culturally biased. I don't care what you say.
I mean, there's
My
no
IQ's
compar-
got to be at least
there's no,
83.
There's no connection between Lawrence the Prez and Lawrence, Kansas, is there?
There is.
There is.
Yes.
I
They
know.
named Lawrence. The president got named after Lawrence, Kansas. Yes.
Prez would not do well in Lawrence, Kansas for more than a day.
Ooh.
You don't think so?
It's pretty much farmland, isn't it?
Oh, not Lawrence. No, it's
I mean, KU's there, so I guess not. But
Well, if you've never been there, Lawrence is it's a little hippie community, pretty typical college,
he would do
liberal.
well. He would actually. I correct myself. He would actually do
Yeah.
well in that environment.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah,
he
right as
would.
I said that, I was being KU. I was like, maybe it's not. I just think of Kansas as just.
Oh yeah,
plains
no.
of
Lawrence
fields.
is different than Kansas. Kansas is pretty red, but Lawrence not red. I mean, it's college kids, professors. It's pretty liberal. You know, they accept things in Lawrence that are not accepted in most places in Kansas. You're right.
That's
Yeah,
how
they
most
don't-
college towns are nowadays.
guess what?
Right.
guys.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Where?
No, you're supposed to say what?
Why?
I have over 400 sales today.
Well, that's a beautiful thing.
I
I'm-
need to thank everybody for buying the 400 sales on sportsmemo.com because it's free Friday,
Right.
and I gave out a 5-unit play to demonstrate my expertise, hopefully. And
So how did you get paid if it's free?
well, the idea is that you give them the cream of the crop research. You show them why this is a 5-unit play,
And then you charge them for your dog plays? What is it? What's this? I want to know more about the story. Tell me the story.
But then if you use, I tell you, your wife buys my picks. I mean, it's been a big secret, but she buys my picks.
It's a secret
you're-
that I'm
Yep,
willing to
yep.
let her have.
Yep. So tell her the promo code is Ryan7, and you
Ryan
get 7
7.
days for $39. And the 5-unit play is $39. So I'm basically giving that as part of the subscription,
Yeah.
and anticipating that when they
And
see
it's guaranteed winner because it is
award-winning
5%.
research.
Yeah.
Well, it's not guaranteed. You know that.
It is guaranteed. It can be. It is on
As I sit
WagerTalk.
here
It's
right now, I'm
guaranteed.
pretty confident.
Guaranteed on WagerTalk. Guaranteed.
I mean,
It's guaranteed you will not pay, win or lose.
That's right. Whether it's on the Oakland
Ooh.
A's or not.
Ooh, well, here's what I like. I like guarantees.
I mean, that flew
That I
over your
win.
head.
Yeah, well,
That flew over both your heads.
that's okay. Because guess what?
You said what is? Say what you said again.
I'm
You're
You got to get the A's
guaranteed-
reference because I could barely hear it. I said it's guaranteed. You do not pay, win or lose. It is free.
And I said whether it's on the Oakland A's or not.
Oh,
that's why I
that
didn't-
flew over my head because guess what? Joe West is in Oakland today. No, I don't know that. I'm kidding you.
No.
He falls the
He's in
Cubs
the
round.
National League circle.
There's no National League and American League umpiring.
No, he did that
crews
White
anymore.
Sox game when, but that was a Cardinal White Sox game, so maybe that's why because it was a
The
National
Cubs.
League team.
Cubs.
Because that game in which the pitching coach got ejected, that was that White Sox series. When he broke the record, it was the White Sox series a couple months ago. And then the very next day after he set the all-time record for games umped, he inspected the guy on the mound.
Listen,
I still think that was his subtle way, John, of saying, this is something we need to crack down on my way out of the game. Then the pitching coach went off.
Give him credit for that, Steve. Give him credit for that, because there's no way in the world he should have lasted as long as he did as an umpire.
I remember back in the
Fortunately,
90s,
he's grandfathered in. He's grandfathered in, so he's not even under the. He's not even graded by. They grade him by the K zone, but he doesn't. He can't. He's tenured. He can't even be. He can do worse than Onora yesterday. By the way, Onora, did you hear about his grade yesterday? The worst grade an umpire in the last 3 years or something. He missed 20%, 18% of the strikes, pitches that were strikes. He called balls yesterday.
Did that game go over?
Oh,
was he consistent?
I'm assuming if it didn't go over, it sure as hell should have.
Tony, which game was he working?
I don't know. I don't remember now. I can tell you though. You want to know? I'll tell you.
I mean, it'd be interesting to look. Yeah, I mean,
sure. I just know I got the email and the message late last night because I get the grades, and a guy who works there, and I didn't even pay attention. I said that doesn't surprise me. Brian Onora does. It doesn't surprise me anything Onora in that group and that youthful generation of umpires do. So let me look for you real quick here.
I have one question for you.
I'm listening.
I don't care if he missed the strike zone or not. Was he consistent on both sides? And I'm being serious.
That's why I want to see what game it was. Because you had a couple games that were pretty extreme.
They don't grade umpires on that. They don't. They just grade.
That's the human element.
I can get that information, but I was just informed of what he missed. Of his total pitches and what he missed. So I'm looking for you right now.
If I had $10 for every time I walked out to talk to the umpire between innings, and instead of yelling at him during the inning, saying "Come on, Blue," and by the way, umpire down south, in youth baseball and the college level, you do not call them Blue.
You know why?
It's like calling them the biggest insult in the world.
I do it all the time.
They're all Republicans.
In Virginia, they're
Republicans. They want to be called red.
I do it all the time, John. So I must be on the cutoff line, I guess.
I think you are.
Yeah.
You want to call
I'm glad you told me that, though.
Whatever.
I thought you were going to say that's what you call them. I was waiting for you to say. I was going to say, oh, I know that. I do it all the time. Wow. Okay.
I usually here's the trick, and since you're coaching now, this works beautifully. You have a catcher, and you teach him that before the game starts, you go out there. Say you're the home team. You're out there doing your tosses, and I want Rob Veno to hear this too. Hey, Rob, you'll agree with me on this. I know you will.
Okay, John.
So, all right, so your catcher...
Can't hear Rob. Tell him to turn it up.
Huh?
I can hear him. All right, so they're doing their tosses, right? Their warm-up tosses. But prior to that, the umpire gives the catcher the game ball. So the catcher has the opportunity to say, hello, and shake hands with the umpire. My name is so-and-so. Thank you for umpiring our game today.
Right.
I don't care if the kid's 18 years old.
I like it.
Or 12. And then you get to know his name, the umpire's name. So what does the catcher do after the first inning? He comes to the head coach, which is me, and says, the guy's name is Dave. Or Tony in this case. So now I have his first name, right? We're on a personal basis. So instead of yelling at an umpire and saying, hey, what are you missing, man? Come on. That's not going to help your cause. It's better to go out between innings and say, hey, Dave, I'm John. I'm the manager of this team. And, beautiful night, isn't it?
So every game we did this year, John, we actually the two coaches meet at home plate with the head ump. So we get their name. The problem for me, though, and why I use Blue is because I forget it half the time. So I'm making a better effort to remember the name. But I actually had the name for every game.
Key.
But that's interesting about the Blue thing, because I'll say Blue, and I was even thinking the other day, I was like, I think that's the right term, and I didn't know where it comes from. But a lot of our guys wear the blue shirts, so that's probably why it doesn't ruffle them. But I never knew that's a Southern thing. I'd have to be careful with that. And then just did NASCAR Life in the fast lane with Rocky Atkinson, and Rocky's son's at a pretty high level of travel ball, and Rocky coaches, and he's South Carolina. So I wish I'd known that like an hour ago. I would have asked him. And we were talking some baseball last week off the air.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to message him actually after the show and ask because that's something
it's a sign
I use.
Of respect if you do not call him hey Blue.
Wait,
it's a sign of disrespect. If you call him Mr. Umpire, even
wait. You're
better
saying
than calling him Mr. Blue.
But you're saying using blue is disrespectful.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would not have known that. So I got to check
because
with
think of the
Rocky.
kids down south. I mean, everything's yes sir, no sir, yes sir.
Well, no.
Which is kind
the
of
only time I
refreshing,
use
too.
it though, the only time I use it's like, what's the count blue, or how many outs blue? Like I'll say it like that. So there really wouldn't be a sir anyway. So I don't. Maybe that's why it's not rough.
I mean, the kids, like the players.
Oh, I've never heard the kids
Like,
say it. I don't think any of my
kids,
kids would even know that. Oh no. Okay, that's a different thing. That I would
Sometimes
think.
in Alabama, especially. and
No, I would
Florida,
think.
it was-
I don't feel like the kids should be saying it. That's more of a coaching term for me. So you might be right about that.
Yeah,
I think that might
it's
be the
just they
reason.
do it off the field too. It's just they talk to somebody that's as old as Tony Finn and I are. That it's automatically yes sir because they don't want to upset us and give us a heart attack.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think the players should be saying blue, especially kids. So that actually
No.
might be more consistent. Okay, that's
Yeah,
interesting. though.
and they're not supposed to talk to any umpire at all, even if it's a bad call, bad whatever. But the
I
key
agree with
part I
that.
want you to remember, Steve, is that after you do this little, massaging behind home plate between innings, and your pitcher's getting screwed, you ask them, Dave, I want my kid to throw strikes where you like it. So, where's he missing? And that goes over so well, I can't even tell you.
No, I
because
think it's
the next
a
inning,
great way to
all
do
of a
it.
sudden that pitch is a strike.
No, I think there's a lot of you got to pick your spots. I remember my dad we watch a lot of Maryland basketball, being Northern Virginia or whatnot. I remember the analogy I always used to. I remember my father said this like 20 some years ago was when Gary Williams took over as the Maryland head coach, and Williams was insane. He was like Bobby Knight as far as yelling and stuff, but different than Bobby Knight. He was just always yelling. And I still think of this to this day, and I carry it with me at coaching. And my dad was exactly right. He goes, I remember he's like, look at the players. He's like, they don't even listen to him. It's like he yells nonstop the entire game. They've just all zoned him out. And he was exactly right. Williams is just going crazy. Knight was at a different level, but there is something. You got to pick your spots. And Gary Williams is the textbook example of that. I mean, he just would yell nonstop and pace, and these guys just be sitting on the sidelines like it wasn't happening because they're so used to it. Whereas if you're medium pace, and then you turn and yell at a guy for 10 seconds, it catches their attention. And same thing with the umps. Like Williams was probably yelling at the referees the entire college basketball game. They don't listen to him either probably. But when you do what you do, John, you're nice. And then there's that one call that matters, and you say something like, that you don't say, in a nice way you say it was a bad call. That's going to hit home. And you're going to probably get a makeup call down the road. But if they don't like you.
I learned very early on. We played for Boys of Baseball as a national travel team. I learned real quick by observation that the best teams in this country at any age group, you don't even know that they have coaches during the game. You don't even know them.
There's the old adage that
scream,
you practice to play, and by game time it should be go out there and execute. So that means they probably ran very good practices. That's interesting. I'm going to take that with me.
Tony Finn tells a lot of stories, so I'm going to tell one more quick one, and I know Rob's going to start smiling pretty soon here. And Steve Merrill we have an over/under bet of 3.5 laughs and or smiles by Rob Veno on this show, and we're already at 1.
Oh,
You need
man,
to
I
let
can
Tony talk, man.
But
I could get over that in my sleep, and Rob knows it.
how many? I've probably coached 2,500 games in my life at a tournament level. How many games do you think I got thrown out of?
0.
I would hope none. You probably got 1 or 2. It's probably 1 because you got a story, so it's 1.
Right.
It's actually 0, but I came very close.
Oh, okay.
So we're in a semifinal game at 8:00 in the morning. Quarterfinal game, 8:00 in the morning. We have and this is at Cal Ripken's place in Aberdeen, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful place. I mean, it's another one of my cathedrals. All the fields are replicas of the big fields. Like they have Fenway, it has the Green Monster, and the kids love it. So it's reduced in size, but it's all the same dimensions. One of the fields is Memorial. They had Citizens Bank Park. What are the other ones? Camden Yards is the stadium where they have the World Series for the Cal Ripken 50-70 stuff. So anyway, we're 8 o'clock in the morning, and the umpires have always been tremendous in Aberdeen, except for this particular morning. So we get a play. We're on the third base side of the dugout, and sitting on buckets, like Steve knows. We have a bang play at third, and it was one of those where I actually stood up, which was unusual, and I said safe, and called him out, and field ump, and I didn't have anything against anybody that looked like a guy from ZZ Top. But he did. I don't, Aberdeen, you didn't care what anybody looked like because they were all official trained umpires. So I quick talked to my one assistant. I said, "What do you think? What do you think? I'm gonna go out and talk to him." And he thought too he was safe. So we thought our runner was safe at third, and the player missed the tag. So I go out to talk to the this ZZ Top fellow, and I explained my cause for being out there to stop the game. It was very professional and nice, and I said, I would like to have you ask your home plate umpire, who had the better angle of the play looking down the third base line, for some help. And guess what the guy says to me? He says, "Do I ask you for help coaching your team?" And I was stunned. And then it was like, well, I know if he's going to ask the home plate umpire now, I'm not going to get a call. But I did force the issue to get the motion to point to the home plate guy. And, of course, it was safe. And then I went back down on the bucket, and all he did was stare me down. Every time I looked up at him, he was looking at me for the rest of the inning, just waiting for me to, wave a finger like this or something, and I would have been gone.
Well, it doesn't help.
So guess what happened after the game?
It doesn't help your
This is the best
team,
part
though,
of my
is the problem.
story. I think this story is way better than Finn's stories. So after the game, the guy was suspended for 2 years.
Whoa.
One of the tournament field directors just happened to be behind home plate. We had been there a long time. He knew our reputation. And he told me after the game, he said, I had no other choice but to suspend him for 2 years. He'll never coach another Empire game here for at least 2 years.
Wow.
I think that's a good story.
So
Well, yeah, but you ruined the guy's life, John, over a
Good at getting people in trouble, John.
God,
Yeah,
just think
it's
he
true,
looked. He looked
guy's
like
now-
ZZ
the
Top
guy's-
while he was
the-
umpiring. Can you imagine what
guy's-
happened to him afterwards?
He's now in Leavenworth because he became a crack addict, and he's cellmates with Willie Mays Aikens.
Actually, the best part of the story,
I
which
thought
John
about
left
that,
out,
Tony.
is he's actually now one of the cappers on WagerTalk.com, but we're not going
What?
to tell you which one.
What's his initials?
Yeah, that's right. It's not Carmine. No way. This guy was. Like I said, we never ever had a problem like that. Like if you asked for help, the guy had no problem. He would point to his partner, and you either get the call or you don't, and you go sit down. But this guy really had it out for
It goes back to what you said earlier about the ump, like which was he calling the strikes bad for both teams? Because that tournament director, he knows
Yep.
he doesn't want an ump who's going to be easily rattled like that and then is biased the rest of the game or the rest of the tournament, because that's bigger problems to come. So I think he kind of saw the writing on the wall there. But so instead of you ever getting ejected, you got somebody ejected for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story.
That's the story I'll never forget.
That's good, though. I'm glad it turned out that way, because you didn't do it the wrong way. I mean, you did everything exactly right. And
I would have gotten thrown out. I would have flipped him off.
Yeah,
A
a lot of
times.
people would have lost their mind because I lost my mind and I just didn't show it because I had that pride that I'm not going to get thrown out of a game.
Well, it's funny
No,
you
I-
say that because I never told myself, but I
Bad
just kind of knew
courage.
it's like, especially at like 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old level, I was like, these guys are volunteering basically. They get paid a little bit, but I mean, they're basically volunteering. So I was like, I've never been nasty to them. But then this year I kind of told myself mentally, I was like, I'm definitely never going to be nasty to these guys because they're basically volunteers out there at the young level. Now a tournament, with high schoolers and stuff is a different level. That's the real deal. But yeah, I keep that in mind. And that's something I kind of subconsciously knew, and then I kind of mentally told myself this year. But it also, like you said, it really doesn't help the cause. So all it's going to do is piss the ump off towards your team. So it really isn't a good reason to do it. But you got to pick your spots, whether it's with the players or with the umps.
Exactly
You can't
right.
be yelling the whole time. And I like what you say. Like at the very young level, I'm yelling a lot. I'm not
quiet.
yelling, but I'm coaching a lot because they need it. But I think you're right about the quiet. I mean, most of those teams that are ready to play, nothing's going to change if they're yelling out to them in the middle of an inning.
I would just have my little clipboard, and I would write things down, and then I would go over it after the game. Here's our mistakes. Here's what we did well. Here's what we need to work on, and have a good night. Go get your ice cream cone.
And then he'd hit him with the clipboard.
But it's like in anything, like any walk of life, if you
What kind of ice
embarrass
cream?
somebody or humiliate somebody, that's why we're kind of walk on eggshells sometimes on this show with Tony and Finn, because we don't want to be nasty to them or kid around or yell at them because we're afraid of what might happen, and then.
What could possibly happen? Because I encourage everyone.
It would be good.
I encourage everyone to smash the shit out of eggshells.
See,
Well,
Tony's
see what
a
I
unique
mean?
individual, though. Like, of all the guys at WagerTalk.com, he'd be probably the odds maker's favorite to be the first guy to go postal, but he'd also be like the odds maker's favorite to be the first guy just to nose plant on his desk in the middle of a show and fall asleep. So it's a very interesting balance, and that's kind of what keeps Tony Finn neutral, in my opinion. That's my
Thank you.
diagnosis.
Yes. That in Switzerland. That and my bank accounts in Switzerland help
he's
too.
going to be the first guy to go to the umpire and offer him a shot of tequila.
He would.
Yes.
Tony would be the ump's best friend by the middle of the first inning.
Hey, sir, you look like you have a headache, or here's some tequila, and this is it may look like a lemon 714, it may say lemon 714 on it, but it's just an aspirin. Here, really.
Yeah, and don't drink it all because the rest is for the kids after the game.
Yes.
That's right.
If you kids
What kind of ice
mix
cream?
something, you use that Gatorade bottle, not that Gatorade bottle.
What kind of ice cream after the game? Lemon flavored
Tony
ice
Finn's
cream.
team motto: anybody who hits a home run gets mezcal.
Yes.
Do not drink from the water bottle that says Finn on it. That's not because I don't want to share. Just don't drink from it.
Motivational head coach Tony Finn.
Yes, sir.
Listen.
How could you
I
make
can-
him the favorite to go postal over Joe D'Amico? I find that offensive.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, I'll say Wager Talk only because I couldn't remember exactly who's at Sports
you're
Memo
right.
because John's my guy at Sports Memo and Joe's over there. But yeah, Joe, I don't see Joe going postal. Joe's just got energy. That's all positive energy, though.
Could be turned into postal.
There could be an evolution going on. But Steve, one more thing: when the umpire then tells you where the kid's missing, you have all the information you have in the world. So what you do is at that any age group level, and it's a polished team, you tell the kid, all right, we're going to abandon the low away pitch for a little bit here.
Yeah.
You're going to throw down Broadway or low and in. And then all of a sudden, when you do throw the breaking pitch away, it's catching the plate and the umpire's calling it correctly. So it's huge information for your pitcher, more so than massaging the umpire.
How old are these players? How old are the players you're coaching?
I would do this with any
Teenage level, right?
travel team and above. From
Okay.
the age of
I was gonna say
14 to
because-
18.
Right, mostly
Because when
high
I
school
was-
age.
when-
Yeah, that's right. I figured high school.
When I was 12 years old, if you tried to tell me that if I put a pitch here or there, that the umpire's going to call this or that, I would have said, "Go sit down, old man. Go sit down. I'll do the pitching." Have I asked you? Have I offered to help you with your coaching? Don't I have to offer pitching? That's what I
Guess
said
who
to you.
played for the one organization that I coached, but I did not coach him.
Who's that?
And he was not.
Mickey Lolich.
Mike
He was
Trout.
not anywhere close to being the best 12-year-old either. And
Mike
when he
Trout.
played- yes, and when he
I
played
know.
to the,
I just
went to the
I'm
West
amazed
Coast,
myself. I amaze
Rob, I
myself.
assume Rob was
Way to-
joking.
Yeah, way to take credit for it, Finn. I was just thinking of players.
Oh,
from-
you said it before me? You said it before me?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it because I can't hear you now.
Well, John
Turn the
talks-
damn volume up.
I have it full blast.
John talks about two things:
Yeah,
Philadelphia
that's true.
pro teams or New Jersey. So when he asks a question, the
Yeah.
answer's coming from there.
That's true.
Somewhere.
That's true. Okay, Rob Veno wins. Go ahead.
I always
give him
thought
the-
Stroud was
give
the West Coast. I
give him
think
the
it's
lemon
Stroud is
flavored
California
ice
now.
cream.
I forget he's from the East Coast. So
Give him the effing lemon flavored ice cream. You got it, Rob. It's yours.
It could have been Todd Frazier.
Yep.
So, John,
Yep,
who's the best?
from
John, of
Tom's
all those
River.
2,500 games, the best player you ever saw, was it a non-major league guy, or do you remember? Did you know his name, or was it a guy that was a major league player?
There's a couple that aren't at that level yet. They're just ready to go into college now, but yeah, I mean, a lot of them went on, but it's not because of my managerial skills. They worked their butts off, and
Sandusky got a hold of a lot of them, so they're no longer.
Yeah,
I'm
the
just
big
talking
thing
about
is-
man among boys. As far as I'll give an example real quick. I played.
More men are men and boys are sheep are afraid.
We do
something
Cal
like that.
Ripken now, but that used to be Babe Ruth, I believe, was what's Cal Ripken now. And I always played in one league, but then we had a 13-only league in the other part of my Northern Virginia county there. So I went and joined that league. It was a Babe Ruth league when I was 13. And our team actually, it was just rec league, but our team won the playoff that year. But one of the other teams was actually one of the worst teams in the league that year, had a guy named Bill Pulsfer as the pitcher.
There you go.
So he and I were the same age. And, of course, you guys all remember in the 90s, he and Isringhausen came up together in the Mets organization. And Pulsfer was mediocre. Isringhausen had a better career. But so we're all 13. So Pulsar's, I guess, 47 now. It's hard to imagine he's that old now. But so we're all 13.
How
he's a
old
lefty.
is old?
At age 13, he's like 6 foot something, thrown in the mid-80s as a lefty with limited control. And it's still, my father still says, the only time he's ever feared for my safety of all of my athletic years. And we faced him a couple times, and I wasn't a great hitter to start with. I wasn't a very good baseball player overall, but much better coach, by the way. I wish, by the way, in all seriousness, though, if I'd had YouTube 30-some years ago and like this information these kids have now to learn from, like I'm learning from as a coach, I might have been able to hit a little bit. I'm actually kind of pissed about it because like I wasn't ever taught to do this stuff right. Throw,
hey,
hit,
Steve.
or anything.
Steve,
Charlie
next
Lau.
time you tell this story, say, listen, I was a good baseball player, but I was a much better coach. Don't, when you say I wasn't very good baseball player, but I was a much better coach, it doesn't say much about your coaching. Tell them you're a good baseball player.
I was a good catcher, and that's the only reason
There
I
you
was
go.
as fast
That's
as
better.
I
I like
was
it.
actually
Better
a
is
very good
better.
catcher, but I couldn't throw or hit. So
But you're a hell of a lot
somebody
better
else-
catching coach.
But I was never taught to throw or hit correctly, and that's what irritates me because as a great coach now, I could teach myself to play better.
There
but
you go.
So I'm up against Israel. I'm up against Pulsifer in one of the regular season games, and I mean I'm just swinging blindly because I can't even see the ball. It's coming in like mid 80s. I'm scared I'm gonna get hit with it because he has no control. I make contact on like a half swing or something. The ball shoots out to second. I run down to first. They throw me out. I'm so freaking happy I didn't strike out, and I hear foul ball. It hit the plate. So it had literally hit the plate and shot out to second. Like a
Hold on.
drive.
If it hit the plate and went to second base, that's a fair ball.
Yeah, you might be right. Is he right, John?
Well, I know I'm right.
Home plate is part of fair territory.
That might have been a bad call by the ump then, unless I've got the story wrong.
You're a lot better umpire than that
All I
guy,
remember
too,
is the
Steve.
ball went out. I thought I'd hit it, and they sent me back, and of course I struck out then right after that. But damn, I could have had a ground out instead of a strikeout against an MLB pitcher. That would have been nice.
True.
But I did technically. But
You should have got it. You should have got
it's
a
funny,
picture of
John.
that.
You'll appreciate this. So they were like the worst regular season team because there's pitch limits. Like 6 innings a week, and we play 2 games. So they were great. So we were the number 1 seed, and they were like last. But somehow we got a bye or something, so we didn't have to play them in the first round. Pulsifer, of course, annihilates the team they play, and then they can't pitch them the next game. They're out of it. And luckily, we avoided them somehow in that scenario. But that was the example I'll use as a man among boys because we're all 13. The guy was like 6 foot something, thrown in the 80s. And you can only imagine like LeBron
we've all
James
had
at
that.
14. I mean, he's in the NBA as an 18-year-old rookie scoring 20, 30 a game. I mean, can you imagine what he was like as a 15, 14-year-old? So it's interesting about
Steve,
Trout.
we had a
I
guy
always
like
thought
that.
Trout was one of those guys
We had
that
a guy
stood
like
out
that.
as a man-child, but maybe he hadn't developed quite yet, I guess. And you said that was
We had
his
a man.
12,
We
I
had that
think.
man child. The guy had a full beard at
when he was
13.
12, he was
Full beard.
developing.
Yeah.
But then high school, it was lights out.
John, I'll give
bad-
you one
bad
because
speed.
you're a Red Sox fan. All right.
There we go.
I'm 21 years old. We're coaching 11 and 12-year-olds in my hometown, and you're talking about, kids who were different. We coached against Mo Vaughn, who back then we called him Maurice, was his name back then. But
Still is.
The fences for the 11 and 12-year-olds were 225, I think, 250 to dead center, maybe 225 in the alleys or whatnot. And we played them regular season. We played them title game. Title game, we play that team, and we intentionally walk Mo Vaughn 4 times. It pissed the hell out of the other coach. He didn't like it. He didn't think it was fair. Got to let the kid hit. But, we're stupid. We're 21. We're playing to win. What's better for our kids is what's best and probably what's best for us is to win. So we coached him that way. But he could hit a ball like no other at that age. You can tell right away. Then he went to Seton Hall and played with Biggio, right? Him and Biggio were teammates on that team, and they had another kid who didn't make Major League Baseball, but the 3 of them were, I think, top 10 in the nation in hitting. So, yeah, you can tell right away at that age who the kids are that are just special, and hitting the baseball is just special.
Rob, did he pitch at that level?
No.
See, that's surprising because what I've told my son and others is like basically every guy you see on this Major League Baseball, whatever game we have on at night, I go, every one of these guys on the diamond right now, whether it's the Twins or the Rangers or the Astros, I was like, every one of them was the best pitcher and hitter on their little league teams, probably to a dime. I mean, so I'm surprised he didn't pitch, but he was such a powerhouse guy. I could see him being the rare example. He doesn't really look like a pitcher. He's so round. But the other example I'll use, too, is as a Redskin fan growing up in the 80s, you guys remember the Hogs during the Super Bowl dynasty. We're all old enough to know the Hogs. Younger people might not. But Mark May,
DC offensive.
Mark May was his high school Mark May was the high school quarterback.
Yeah.
Russ Grimm, high school quarterback.
Nice.
Jacoby was not. I don't think Bostic was. He was the smallest. And a couple other guys, maybe like Rick Doc Walker, the big tight end might have been. But I know for a fact that Russ Grimm and Mark May were both the high school quarterbacks for their teams. I mean, that's just how good athletically these guys are. They're freaks of nature. I mean, they're man-childs for the most part. And that's why when you think a kid is good, you don't realize he's not that good until you see like a Mo Vaughn like you did, Rob, at that level. Or I guess, John, you didn't really see Trout at his prime yet as a 12-year-old, but he still was probably damn good. And, I mean, I see some kids that are good, but I know they're barely like high school level right now, let alone college or pro. I mean, these guys that you see on the Major League Baseball field, even the worst player in the big leagues was like dominant within his county, like probably pitcher and hitter, and that's just what I think we all realize that because we've been around sports at all levels enough, but I think the average person does not realize how incredibly good these guys are their whole lives. They're just freaks of nature.
That Hog offensive line you mentioned,
averaged 250 pounds.
Well, and that was a lot in the 80s.
Jacoby was over 3 maybe. He was huge for the time.
But I watched, and was kind of a neighbor of the running back that was, I think, the best running back to run behind that offensive
100-meter champion in college.
That's correct.
That's how fast he was.
That's how fast he was in college. In fact,
I know.
Amazingly, not very much long after that, a world-class high hurdler went into Oklahoma. And the speed of those two guys, and I'm speaking as John Riggins.
Riggins, of course, yeah. Who's the other
and
one?
Nolan Cromwell was and the coach for Nolan back then was a assistant for Alabama under Bear Bryant, and it was Bud Moore. I don't know if you remember Bud Moore, but he made a few. He was at that time he was an All-American defensive back, and he made him a damn wishbone quarterback. But what happened was he turned out to be a pretty damn good wishbone quarterback because he was just so big and so strong. And now he's am I mistaken? Did he make the Hall of Fame? Did Nolan Cromwell? I don't think he is, but he was like a 9-time Pro Bowler at strong safety, and he was a hell of a good coach. He was a hell of a good special teams coach for years and years after that too. So Nolan Cromwell's a special guy. I mean, the Riggins speed, even for me as a huge Redskin fan of the 80s, it's hard to remember how fast he was because he was so big. He looked like a fullback. And he was drunk
basically a fullback.
All the time.
He was a fullback. But, the greatest play in the history of that franchise was Super Bowl 17 on that 4th and 1, and he just broke away from everybody. He ran him over like a fullback, threw him off to the side like a fullback, and then he ran to the end zone like a tailback.
I saw him run over. I saw him run over a cornerback one time playing in KU. I was in the stand. I'm a little younger than John, but not a whole lot. And I saw him run over, and they stopped the game for 20 minutes. I mean, this is a guy that comes off tackle, and the cornerback's sitting there going to lower his head a little bit to go after Riggins. And Riggins literally ran him over, and it took 20 minutes, and they were concerned. He wasn't moving, that kind of thing. That Riggins was, and Riggins was always drunk. The best drunk football player ever.
What's amazing about him and another guy in my hometown here, Williamsburg, Lawrence Taylor went to high school here where I live now.
Yeah.
And he was at the same high school within a year or two of Mel Gray, the old Lions returner. They both went to the same local high school, and then Taylor went to UNC. But, I mean, to think like Lawrence Taylor with the drugs and stuff and how great he was at that same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just incredible to me. But, that's a good point. I was going to say that about Riggins. He's sober now, actually. He's been sober for a few decades.
Yeah, he was a crazy man.
Has his radio show. I had so many connections with him. I ended up never doing his radio show over the years. I had a lot of mutual friends and stuff, and it never happened.
I liked his radio show, too.
Yeah, he was in the D.C. area. But, Riggins is a very interesting guy and on numerous levels, to say the least. In fact, here, full picture here, his son and me were in the same kindergarten class, but we did an AM and a PM, and we had train tracks that divided our towns. So literally, the one side of the tracks was AM kindergarten, the other side was PM kindergarten, and it was only half
we know what
days.
side of the tracks you were on then.
I was on I was on the PM kindergarten side, so I guess I lived in the less nice place than the Redskin guy did. But but my father still, I still remember this. For my kindergarten birthday party, we invited my whole class because I was like 5. And my dad was so bummed out because Riggins' son wasn't there because he was in the other kindergarten class. But he actually got to know Riggins later in life, and we have some mutual friends. But, his son and I were actually the same kindergarten year. And then I played against his son. He went to a different high school. And I played against him. I played against one of Gibbs' son. I played against the younger Gibbs, who I believe was Coy. JD's the one that passed away recently. And I played against Coy Gibbs, and Joe Gibbs was in the stands, but I guess I didn't make the cut to go straight to the pros from high school.
I wouldn't want to drink with Joe Gibbs. I'm afraid he would judge me the whole time.
Well, isn't that crazy though that you had Riggins? Gibbs basically saved Riggins' career, and you couldn't have two people that were probably less alike in
probably
life.
Right. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, but Riggins is notorious in his area, in that area of Lawrence, as being an absolute wild man. You know, he's a farm boy, but he was. Yeah. A lot of stories about John and a few of the watering holes in Lawrence, definitely.
Well, the best Redskin one ever, there were 2 of them. Back when they made the Super Bowl in 1982, Super Bowl 17, they have a Redskin report show on the local CBS station. And I was like 8 o'clock. I think I was 8 years old at that point. And even I knew he was drunk as could be on this live talk show. But the best ever was the White House dinner when he told Sandra Day O'Connor, "Lighten up, babe," the Supreme Court Justice. That has to be the best moment ever. Lighten up, babe, at some dinner. She was tanked also. But, he'd go out and still be one of the best players on the field. That just shows – but it comes full circle. That just shows what freaks of natures these guys are. Lawrence Taylor, John
Absolutely.
Riggins. We couldn't perform at that level sober, and they could do twice our level, half drunk and high on coke, like Lawrence Taylor was.
Amazing.
It's scary.
I'd sure like to – I would be willing to, be involved in that experiment to see if I could perform –
Hey, for the 60 and over club on top of me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you freak of nature. As good as Mo Vaughn was in the little town where I grew up, he's not the star sports attraction. When Pete Maravich won the college basketball scoring title, either of you guys remember who came in second that year?
I think it was Bill Clinton.
It's a little 5'8" guy named Calvin Murphy.
Oh well, Calvin Murphy wasn't 5'8". He could jump 5'8". That was just his vertical leap. They said he was 5'8", but that was his vertical leap.
And that for freakish. I mean, we're talking about freakish athletes.
Yeah.
He was little and so fast, could dribble 2 basketballs the length of the floor, and he was a great free throw shooter. But on top of that. He'd put on these baton twirling displays in town. He was an expert baton twirler.
Wow.
But I remember he came back to our high school in 1978 with his Rockets warm-ups on and whatnot. And you look at the guy, and 3/4 of the high school senior class is taller than Calvin Murphy.
Yeah.
Man, oh, man. What a great basketball player. I think he might be Hall of Fame. I think. I'm not positive. I have to look it up. But
I can look it up while you're
where
talking
college
here.
basketball's concerned, I think Maravich averaged 44-2, and Murphy averaged about 38 a game for Niagara that year.
Amazing.
Rob, it's funny that you mentioned him because earlier today his name came up because I was having a discussion with somebody about basketball. This guy played at William Mary in the 70s, a tall guy I saw earlier today, and I forget what started it, but somehow – I know. I made a joke. I go, his move back in college, this my friend who's a shooter, I go, you were a dunker. And they were laughing. He goes, actually, you could not dunk back in the 70s in college basketball when I played. And I go, really? Because I thought for sure you could. I mean, I know in the NBA, Dr. J was dunking and stuff. But he's almost certain that up through the 70s, it was still a violation. And here's what's interesting. That we kind of came full circle because he said Lou Alcindor is the reason that rule was changed.
That's right.
So I thought you'd appreciate that because I know you love the little basketball history. And then it got me talking about Chamberlain, and then he mentioned Russell had the most titles, and I was like, it's incredible because if you look at the list of scoring games, Russell's never had one of the top 30, and Chamberlain has half of the top 25 points games. And then somehow we talked about wins and stuff, playoff wins, and second was Sam Jones. He said second most titles ever. I should have asked you guys because I didn't know. It was apparently Sam Jones, he said, has the second most championships ever, which is a name you wouldn't necessarily think. But somehow Pistol Pete came out during that discussion because we were talking about like what a great player he was, and just guys that literally changed. But I still say Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player ever because they literally changed the rules in the NBA because of him. Goldson, I believe.
They changed all kinds of rules in college.
And and I'll go back to my father who got me into sports. One of the things he said I still repeat to this day is you got to judge everybody within their era. And I think that's a great way to talk about the all-time greats because Babe Ruth wouldn't be that great right now, in my opinion, and Chamberlain probably still would be, actually, and Jim Brown probably would be also. And you see where I'm going with who I think the greats are for each sport. But Babe Ruth hit more home runs than some teams had in a season. That is never going to happen again. Chamberlain had 100 points, and also they changed rules because of him. That doesn't happen with LeBron. It didn't happen with Jordan. So I think it's a great way to compare the greats of all times is you got to look within their era. And that goes back to our theme here about man among boys, just dominating. Chamberlain was a man among men. I mean, back when he was playing. He was a freak of nature, to say the least. But yeah, Pistol Pete came up earlier today. We were having that discussion.
Dick Harp
There's some kind of,
was the head coach for Wilton College. Dick Harp. No one knows about Dick Harp,
There's something about a number of 40,000 or something with Wilt Chamberlain. I forget what that stat
25.
is.
Well, that was women. He
25,000.
slept with 40,000 women.
I did the math
that's
on
right.
that, and I don't know.
Well, it took me.
I was fascinated by the
seconds
math of
to-
that more than anything.
Well, the math is simple. I'm pretty good with numbers in my head. That's why I can't go to casinos. And I never got thrown out of a
MIT
baseball game, but I
blackball.
can definitely get thrown out of a casino. But I quickly figured out that that's an average of 3 a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, I remember I did the math as well, John. I was calling BS on that for mathematical
Yes, I did
reasons.
too.
Yeah, for mathematical reasons, I was calling BS on that. I couldn't remember the exact
Yep.
number. I think it was 20-something also, and yeah,
Might be
calling BS.
Well,
on
they
that.
never really defined
math.
sleep.
Here's what's crazy, guys. All seriousness, have you? I'm not even talking about just females, male and female. Have you even met 25,000 people in your life? I'm not sure I
Of
have.
course I have. I went to.
think you
Of
have?
course
I've had.
I probably met millions.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, let me put
probably
it this:
walked past that
have you
many.
actually had more than a 5-minute conversation with 25,000 people? Because Wilt the Stilt would have had at least talked to him for a couple minutes.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Not.
I'd have to do the math on
Yeah,
that
I mean-
one. I've got 1,000-some friends on Facebook.
He
so I
was
know I've
Wilt
talked to those
Chamberlain.
people.
He was Wilt Chamberlain. We can't even imagine what it would be
That
like
is true.
to
It's
be Wilt
exponentially
Chamberlain.
bigger for those celebrities.
Yeah.
That is true. But the
Autograph
3 a day, I'm
signing
calling
from
BS on.
Yeah, I guess in your stock terminology, that's like a short squeeze when you're doing 40,000.
Short squeeze.
a day.
Well, if you're doing 3 a day, you'd have to be doing a short squeeze.
Yep, that's definitely overbought. Overbought.
Lots of slippage there also.
A lot of shorts in the market. In
We're
between
going over the
sessions.
Rob Veno giggles with this conversation. I know that
Yeah,
much.
this one is getting there now.
This one is a dead over.
Yeah.
We just got to hope the game goes a full 8.5 innings here. This one's already gone over.
It's probably on my schedule, which we have completely obliterated with the topics, but that's fun. I got to tell a story that's better than Tony Finn's. But
It had a happy
it's-
ending
it is-
also.
and it's a story about
That's another good Wilt. That's another good
right,
Wilt
Steve?
phrase right there. Happy ending.
It's a story of encouragement for the youth of my baseball stories.
Mine are always
Tony
encouraging.
Finn's stories are sometimes
John, I
not
always
that
come
way.
out of these discussions smarter, and tonight it was actually coaching tactics. I'm dead serious. Like I'm going to use some of that. I'm on board with you. I'm kind of already thinking that way, and you confirmed you've had a lot more experience with the stuff in the tournament.
And don't
Well,
forget,
yeah,
you learned
you
about
say-
foul balls too.
I
Yeah,
mean, two sayings.
when you said it hit the plate, it's fair. I kind of knew you were right. Now that I'm thinking about it. 13. I got to check that story, but yeah, it ended up at second, so it must have hit the plate. I don't know.
Yeah,
All right,
it's okay
Preston.
though.
I
Guess
dreamt it
what?
after the ball hit me in the head 80 miles an
didn't
hour as I was getting
strike
up.
out. You didn't strike out.
That's right.
God, I tell you, it's
you-
funny. I did some video research the other week on that because these tournaments we're playing in this summer now, the kids are throwing harder and the kids are a little dicey, and they don't want to get hit. So I've been researching like YouTube. You just type it in, all this great stuff comes up, like how not to be afraid of the baseball or how to get over being afraid of the baseball. And that's another thing I didn't have 30 years ago. I wish I'd had that kind of knowledge. I would have been tough with YouTube because I'd like to do my research. That's why I'm a good coach, Tony Finn. I'm teaching these kids
Why?
what wasn't taught me. Like how
Are
to
you
hit and
teaching
throw.
them? Are you teaching them about floozies? Are you teaching them about how to water down mom and dad's alcohol after you've drank some, so it's still the same level? Are you teaching them things that they can actually use in life?
I said day one, I was like, kids, it's nice to meet you. I'm Coach Steve. Never touch my damn water bottle. And then I go back and chug and cry in the corner for a
Now,
few minutes.
it's a good start. It's a good start.
So did you guys know there's a new? I didn't know this until I came across it the other week. There's a Bad News Bears remake came out like 10 years ago, and it's pretty much like the original, but it was like 2012 or something. I'd never seen it.
So Jack Black in that?
No, who is the guy that plays Walter Matthau? It's I actually just taped it the other night. It was about 20 minutes in. It's
he's on
Billy.
Netflix,
It's Billy
too.
Billy Ray Thornton, Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh,
Yes, Billy.
I
Billy
like
Ray
that. Oh,
yeah,
that's
I mean, it's
good.
other than you, Tony Finn, that was the logical choice. But man, would Tony not be great in that role? Now that I'm thinking about it,
That Billy Bob
Tony,
Thornton.
you could have had that role. That was your calling there 10 years ago.
But you see, I didn't get the job because I'm not a soccer player.
Billy Bob Thornton, man, that is your doppelganger, or whatever the term is, Tony. I'm
I
just
do
seeing
like
it
him.
now.
I like
Have you ever gotten
Bad
that before?
Santa. Yeah. Yeah, they used to. I've been referenced as a couple people in life. The other ones I won't mention. But how good is Bad Santa?
Yeah,
that's good.
I still like Ted, because I'll tell you why. I took my youngest son to the theater thinking.
You mean
yes,
the Ted?
Oh yeah, man! What a culture shock that was for all the parents with 10-year-olds, right? That was like one of the most vulgar movies
and he
ever.
was 10. He was 10.
What was it rated, John?
Was
it not R?
Didn't look. I didn't look.
I think it was
So
R, man.
early
You really
on-
should be taking your 10-year-old team to the movie theater.
I was looking all over this dark theater to see how many other people were looking at me like, you bad dad.
Terrible
you
parent.
you ridiculous person, you.
Yeah, I caught that on the cable channels eventually a few years ago. That movie was pretty vulgar. Yeah, and I thought the same thing because I thought it was about a damn teddy bear.
And when he started getting into golf, I introduced him to Caddyshack and forgot about that one scene with Chevy and Lacey Underalls.
Night putting with the DMV.
No, I like her name, by the way.
No, it was the...
yeah, see, now, I was watching Caddyshack
Lacey
from like
Underalls and the kid.
Well, but see, my Caddyshack was, we had the 4 network channels. We didn't have cable till I was like in high school. So in like the mid-'80s, when I was like 9 or 10, that was on NBC every once in a while, and I VHS'd it. And I must have literally watched Caddyshack on the VHS player like hundreds of times, but it was the TV edit. And I never saw the real version until the 90s, and the entire scene with Bill Murray when he's like, cannonball coming, which is one of the best scenes, and then he and Chevy Chase are in the shack or whatever for like that whole scene is not in the TV version at all. They don't, because the other ones they just kind of edit out the profanity and the nudity, but that entire scene wasn't there. So like after seeing it 100 times, it was like getting a gift, like a bonus episode of the original Caddyshack. Pool, pond be good for you. You live over there on Briar. Yeah, 3, Briar. I mean, so many Tony Finn references in that scene. But that's not in the TV version, I guess, because they got the weed reference or something, and then the chugging the alcohol, I guess, too. But
there's a lot of things in that movie now that are not appropriate. It's amazing, even rentable.
Hey, Wang, don't tell them you're Jewish. I think this place is restricted. Okay, fine.
Yeah. And the priest gets hit by lightning, right? And then the next day he's sitting there all fried, and you're a bishop. And he says, there is no God.
That's right. See, that's all. The best part is NBC showed all of that, though. NBC didn't edit any of that out of the 80s. Like, that was okay for network TV, and now you would be, like, berated if you put that on any kind of network TV.
Well,
as
Steve,
far as we've come, we've gone
my,
backwards in some regards.
Before we go into my Major League Baseball angle of the day, and then we'll do I'll start the final round. I'll give you 2 really cool quotes that my dad gave to me that I would attribute to my I say this humbly, as I always say things humbly, but I was a dual All-American in high school, track. Well, actually, it was cross-country. I was a Kinney Shoes All-American.
I did not know that.
Shoes? And swimmer.
Kenny shoes,
so,
is that like Kenny's shoes?
So John, that's why you're... So John, I saw today you were going to do golf for the Olympics, and I wasn't surprised by golf and basketball, but when I saw, what was it, swimming and track and field, I was like, damn, I got to ask John about this. So now I know why you have your knowledge. I did not know that. Very interesting.
And the swimmers today are swimming much faster. If you would have asked us if it was humanly possible to swim the times that they're swimming, no. That will never happen. That will never happen. But they did change the rules.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff, like you'll see backstroke turns now where they roll over on their stomach and do a flip turn, and then the dolphin kicks are allowed. I would do that in practice in high school, and I would get yelled at.
Once again, it's why you got to compare the eras, like I said earlier. Like Mark Spitz didn't have these swimsuits that were like a seal,
right.
you know?
That's another thing, yep.
And that's another reason you look at how Spitz dominated those Olympics. Phelps is pretty close, though, but, I mean, you got to look at guys within their era. That's a good example right there. Technology changes. I mean, these guys with the bats and stuff now and the swimsuits and swimming, bats and baseball, it's not the same. And the training regiments, obviously. You know, the lifting and the nutrition.
Yep.
Babe Ruth didn't quite have all of that.
So when I would come home from a practice in either sport or any sport, played football too, and I was moaning, all I heard from my dad was, champions are people who are great every day, not once a week.
Practice like
and
you
then
play,
the other
right?
one was that what matters is what you do when the coaches are not looking. And that's the best one for your baseball team.
Yeah, well, that goes to the one I just used. Practice like you play. Practice like you play, and that's very similar to that. I like that.
I like stuff like always remember and never forget. That's stuff like that.
You like the Yogi Berra quotes. Deja vu all over again for Tony Finn.
90% of someone's talent is half mental.
That restaurant is so crowded nobody goes there anymore. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
so here's my
fantastic.
Major League. Back to our numbers went up on watching our chat room here. Nobody's saying anything, but I guess they're probably stunned at the things we're saying. But the numbers went up, the viewers, while we were.
Yeah, well,
not
those
talking
Russian bots are scared
games.
senseless right now. I can only imagine how
Pudding.
scared those Russian bots are that are watching.
Pudding. Free Putin pudding.
Yeah, Steve missed that one. I said, is that the lumpy kind of pudding that I really makes me sick?
No.
Did I really
All right,
miss it, though?
There it is. Oh, that's not the right one. That was yesterday. Now, I don't know why.
That's the second time you've done that today.
Did it win?
No.
Oh.
That was on
I
Milwaukee.
was to say maybe he's just flaunting it, Tony, because it won. Okay, see, there we go. It's an honest
Maybe.
mistake.
You're right. You know what? You might be right.
So,
might be right.
here we go. All right, so this would be the Major League Baseball one for today, I think. It's hard to when it's, just a little icon. Oh, this is my NBA betting angle, so we can look at this. This is for Sunday.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
Bet on home favorites total between 220, 229.5 points. The NBA playoffs. Our home team is losing the playoff series. The road team has won 4 or 5 of the last 5 games in the playoffs. Our home favorite just happens to be 14-6 for 70% since 2015 playoff season. And as Steve Merrill knows, Tony Finn,
Yes, yes.
Steve Merrill knows that it's only 5 years because we haven't had totals of 220 to 229.5. And if you go back from 2015 to 2000, there's 3 of them. So why in the world would you have that included in your query?
Well, John, let me ask you
wouldn't.
this. What is the record above 230? That's the only thing I don't like about that system. It's a very tight total range.
Well, it's the 10 because there's not many games in the playoffs above 230, believe it or not. Like I did that analysis way back about 2 weeks before the end of the regular season. We had a range of 200 for the low total of the season and all the way up to
Correct.
248.5.
Correct.
What happens in the playoffs, it collapses between, but it's closer to the low, so like 210 to 230 becomes the norm for the totals, and that's what we've seen.
But
We
see, on
haven't
that
seen
system,
anything
I'd
close.
rather see the system just say over 220 or higher. You see what I'm saying as far as that tight little window? Because I feel like that's a little bit of backfitting when I see that. So I was just curious.
That's a good point. I normally, over the years, I group them
Got you.
in increments
So
of
you're
10.
not, okay, well, that's good. That's a good reason then, because I don't think there are many over 230. But if I was to see that system for someone else, I'd be like, they're just backfitting there. They found a sweet spot. So, because I don't
I
think,
think it actually
it should.
probably makes
If it
better.
works, it should work above 220 on. You know what I mean? That means high scoring
Yep.
games, which makes a lot of sense. But
And
the 220 to 230 range always makes me nervous because then it's like, well, if it's too high scoring, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? As a financial guy, you get my point on that. You don't want to backfit. So, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I like it. I'm glad I asked you that because I like it better now because I don't think there probably are too many over 230 anyway. So, basically, a high-scoring game favors the home team, and you're saying the road team's been hot, basically, right? They've won at least 4 out of the last 5. So
that is correct.
I like all the parameters. There's no back.
Yep.
You get my check marks. No backfitting. You're good.
And I gotta say, big shout out to Ski Profit. You guys know him, right?
Heard of the
Who?
guy.
he was on a show yesterday, and then all of a sudden I got word from a few people that I was being mentioned, and he gave me a big shout out. But a few on that show didn't agree with the system and the numbers and thought it was stupid. And Ski actually had my back. He had my back. He says, well, if you don't like the numbers, don't look. You either look at the game, or you look at the numbers, or you look at both, and then you bet.
Nice.
Yeah. I was almost in tears. I was almost in tears.
I like it. Well, Ski was supposed to be with me and Tony today, and somebody in the dark web took him. So I hope he didn't pay a price for that, Tony.
And it's not. Listen, that's not a race. It's not because he's dark. It's not. We're not racists.
Dark web. It's funny. Here's the problem, Tony. As I said that, I actually for a second said, someone's going to take that the wrong way.
They are.
And that's the times we live in, though. That's what I'm talking about. It's the times we live in where everyone's on eggshells, though. So I'm glad you made fun of that, because I was actually worried right after I said that, because the joke is actually Tony Finn is stark in the dark web or whatever, which is the seedy underside of the internet, for those of you that don't know.
And they have good synthetic material things.
That's right. They got a lot of credit cards for sale also.
Here's the Major League Baseball free pick of the day. And this one is more the same, anti-Yankees. And by the way, my son's baseball buddy Chas McCormick plays for the Houston Astros, and I saw an interview with Bryce Harper, Philadelphia, right? Bryce, do you feel shaken by the fact that you're not going to play in the All-Star game? Well, Chas McCormick has more RBIs and the same number of home runs as Bryce Harper.
He has $300 less million in the bank account.
Yeah.
And Houston has 7 All-Stars going, and 2 of them that aren't going are, of course, Chas, who's a rookie, understandable. But I thought it was so ironic that the Phillies team can't get enough guys on base to get Harper, who plays every day, and Chas, who plays almost every day, I would say 60% of the games. Can't get him enough guys on base to get RBIs.
It's because when you pay Harper an entire payroll, you can't buy anybody else. Yeah. I mean, I've been adamant about that for a couple years now. You just can't pay a guy that much. It's going to kill them for the next 10 years.
So anyway, this system is betting the under because the Yankees can't score in games with a total between 8.5 and 10 runs. The team, what does it say here? The team has earned, I don't know why the print's so small on my end, has earned a
350 on base over its last 20.
Base percentage over its last 20 games, yep. Go ahead, Steve, you read it.
No, I've made the screen bigger also because I love your angles. So I do. The team has earned John, when it says it's earned a .35, it means better, that or higher, correct?
Yep, 350 or higher,
it's had a good on-base percentage for the last 20 games. The team has a starter with an excellent control whip of .8 over the last 3 starts, which is fantastic, by the way. Anything under 1 is lights out. So I like to kind of I think I should be the translator for next year on NBA Tip-Off, since Joe Ranieri gets so confused by these. He'll read them verbatim, and then I'll summarize them, which is what I like to do. Because I like to look at big picture, like I was talking about the back fitting and stuff. Like, it has to make sense, and this one does. You've got the under in a fairly tight range, but 8.5 to 10 is pretty much the standard range. Like 8 is about average now. So it's a little bit better than average, but it's not like Coors Field crazy. So I like that. The total is 8.5 to 10. You've got a team that's been getting on the base a lot the last 20 games, and the team has a starting pitcher that's been lights out excellent the last 3 starts, 48 and 16 to the under. So I guess basically the takeaway is that the lights out pitcher is going to carry them, right? And maybe the offense is due to cool off after 20. I mean, that would be my take on that, because I think 20 is a pretty good sample for a reversal.
Yeah, and we know Odorizzi is in tremendous form. The ERA is like .56, and the WHIP is .8 over his last 3 starts. So he's bringing it. So not too concerned with that. But this, first of all, Calvin Murphy, I looked up to go back to our original story about 30 minutes ago or 3 hours ago. He is in the Hall of Fame. So there you go. Inducted in the player in 1993. So that answers that question. And then the Yankees, who Tony Finn has accurately and several times said the starting pitching is a big problem because they thought they were just going to simply outscore everybody and the pitching didn't matter.
Yep.
But this kid, Nestor Coors Jr., is pitching for the Yankees tonight. And Tony, his spin rates are are exceptional. The problem is he doesn't throw over 90 miles an hour.
Right.
But his heavy sink on the fastball, 2,200 RPM. His curve is one of the best in terms of spin rates at 2,450. So I think the Yankees are using this opportunity to see what they have with him. And for the exception of the speed, his spin rates are way good.
Yeah.
So for that reason alone, you can't pick up that red dot on a curveball when the spin rate is that high. Yeah. And that's what everybody talks about. Well, I know when a curveball is coming, I can see the red dot. Well, now in the modern age, you throw 12-6 curveballs. You can throw the spike curve with your knuckle, which is a two-seamer. Thrown with a knuckle bent underneath the one seam on the left if you're right-handed. And there's a lot of variations that curve that eliminate the red dot. So I actually think this 26-year-old's going to do pretty good tonight for the Yankees, and expecting a low-scoring game.
There you go.
And that's that.
That's that.
So now we'll make Steve Merrill the anchor. Tony Finn, your free pick.
Nothing's free in life. There's nothing free in life. Don't listen to anyone who tells you there is. Okay, so I'm going to jump to one game in particular.
Well, I thought that was your free pick. That there's no to be aware that there's no.
Well, that's my free advice. That's my free tip to when somebody comes knocking at your door, and they tell you that they're going to when you die, you're going to own your own planet and have 25,000 wives. Don't believe them. Just don't. Don't believe them. So here we go. Free pick. I think I just offended some people, maybe.
I'm glad I can't be seen right now.
I'm going to go to a game that's going to be quite interesting to people. Brad Keller and Mr. T. McKenzie of the Cleveland Indians. KC's Brad Keller. Indians, the tribes, the Cleveland Indians, the Cleveland tribe, and McKenzie. McKenzie has struggled at times earlier this year, as everyone probably knows that follow baseball, or at least are passionate to some degree. And he was returned to the farm to clean the stalls and do those kind of things that you do when you're punished for not pitching well enough at the major league, at the big boy level. And in truth, Keller is a guy that normally I would say you can't be trusted. In fact, there's no Kellers, and there's three of them play Major League Baseball. Three of them. None of them can be trusted. You can tell them that when you see them too. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
They're in Cleveland. McKenzie's a short. I call him a medium. Let's call him a 42 short favorite. Okay, medium-sized guy. And they're the home team. So here's the deal, though. Both of these guys have not been very good. In fact, Keller, I think, has an astronomical he has a cryptocurrency ERA in the last 3 or 4 starts. So the oddsmakers have, and the oddsmakers have made this line proper. Okay, you got the Indians are $1.30 favorites. Numbers 9.5, even a 10. It was even a 10 at a couple other places. Still is 10 under at South Point. Okay, a 10 with a 20-cent under. However, neither team, both these pitchers had fair success to the lineups they faced. But most important is this is a play on conditions, venue, and home plate umpire. In my opinion, the largest strike zone, the largest K zone in this umpire's mind. And it's all perception, right? His name is, now you guys remember this name. You may already know. Who is the umpire? Trip Gibson. Do you know Trip Gibson? Have you watched Trip Gibson?
I do now.
Yeah, if you have a chance to watch him in this game, watch his strike zone. It's big. You got about a 5 to 10 mile an hour wind blowing in from left. You got an umpire with the strike zone of the Grand Canyon. You have a couple guys that are capable. They're talented. Listen, there's no question. Keller's had his 15-minute moments this year. So has McKenzie, to be truthful, and he certainly has had them on the farm. This is a game that's going to be that has a 20% chance of precept too, and with some later heavier percentages later on. Gibson's strike zone gets even bigger. Also know that this is a getaway day. This is the last of that series. So all of those factors make a 9.5 a higher probability. I guarantee you that my math will tell you probability of coming under is better than the probability of this game going over. And that's my free play. I really like Tripp Gibson as an umpire playing unders, especially on getaway day. And especially with two young pitchers who have not been very well, two pitchers that really have a skill set that's mediocre, pedestrian, and will never get them into the Hall of Fame, are meeting two lineups that are also have huge holes in them. And if a pitcher, these aren't two stupid pitchers. There's pitchers that have skill sets that are limited. But I like the under here. Gibson, Tripp Gibson, under 9.5 in Cleveland. Book it.
Love it. Love it, Tony Finn.
Yeah.
And now we have our anchor, Steve Merrill, and with the Tony Finn word of the day, or a free pick. You can do one or both. Doesn't matter.
Always remember, never forget.
I was going to say, I want to actually ask him a word of the day here. I didn't get to do one of the financial words. Let me think of one real quick, John. What's a word
Let me
we can
get
ask
close
Tony?
to muting the mic here.
Yeah, the Tony
okay,
definition of the day. He knows divergence because that's in other realms of life, so that's not a good one.
It's a movie, too. Very good movie.
What's a good let's see if he's been paying attention because I think we've already told him what this means. But a doji candle.
I have a decent
D-O-J-I.
vocabulary. Oh, original.
Doji.
It's the original crew, huh?
How do you pronounce it, John? Doji, Jojai, Doji?
It's Doji.
Yeah,
D-O-J-I.
It's spelled
The original,
D-O-J-I.
the original, the OG crew.
If you were watching the spelling bee last night, the word is
Yeah, I was.
Doji.
I watched it. I could spell those words. I watched.
But instead of giving you the spelling, and instead of the definition, we give you the spelling. You have to give us the definition. It's like a reverse spelling bee here for Tony Finn.
Yeah.
The word is Doji. D-O-J-I. Doji candle, Tony Finn.
Would you like to know what that is?
I would. I'd love to
20
know.
seconds.
Okay, here it is.
I'd like to know what you think it is. John and I know what it
it
is.
is.
I'd like to know what you think it is.
Of course I know. Of course. Listen, have you ever seen Karate Kid? It's where they practice at the doji.
The Doji, that's fantastic. Oh, John, that was so much better than I'd hoped for. And we kept it clean. Tony, that was fantastic. I've never applauded for Tony Finn. He kept it clean, which was a victory in itself, and it was actually comical, and it was like 5 seconds. That was the best Tony Finn moment I've ever experienced on a show. End on a high note there.
I am right
I'll quickly give out a free
That's
play.
an outtake.
I'll quickly let it go because we got to end on that high note there. But Padres were only a 220 favorite at home against the Rockies, who are 7-33 on the road. That line, if you were to look at the second favorite to win the World Series coming in against a team that's 7-33 away, you'd think the line would be like minus 400. I'm not touching that game. I'm not going to play a $200 favorite going to the All-Star break, but that caught my eye. The other big favorite tonight is Dodgers D-backs. Looks like David Price is on the mound. I think there'll be some runs there. I'm not so sure Price is ready to pitch right now. Dodgers offense in good current form, and they're the team with the spin rate. You know, Trevor Bauer brings over his secret sauce this year, and all the Dodger pitchers' spin rates are up across the board, and now they're down a little bit, and some of them are struggling. So we'll see what happens tonight. D-backs are not to be trusted, obviously, but I think they can get enough runs to push it over 8.5 with the Dodgers.
I love it. I do love it. I'll tell you, I have to definitely make that an outtake.
What happened to
sorry.
Robbie? Robbie deserted us?
He had a Missouri
I
radio
think so,
spot.
yeah.
Oh, that traitor.
Yep.
Freaking traitor.
Good way to finish, though. Tony Finn, fantastic. Once again, Doji is where the Karate Kid practiced. Love it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Listen, you guys made my night because now I can do a little work for the weekend. I'll see you, Steve. I'll be listening to Steve here in a couple hours. I follow Steve because it makes me a better person.
Yeah,
it
Tony,
makes me
actually,
better.
I called an
Tough
audible.
act to fuck.
I called an audible. I got something early tomorrow morning, so I asked Gabe Morency, can I do a TV spot? I'm actually going to be with, I think what you did last night. I'm actually with him and Cam here at 7:20 Eastern.
Oh, I had fun.
So we didn't do a lot. We'll
free.
See if they let me do video, Tony. Unlike you, we'll see if they let me on the video.
Well, they lied to me. I shouldn't say lied to me. They said, listen, the quality of your, and I talked to Joe this morning. Tony said, well, have you ever looked in the mirror, Tony? The quality is not good. Well, said,
John,
right.
quickly, they told him the quality of his video wasn't good, but the question becomes, was it his actual connection or the other quality of the video? That's what we're trying to find out still. So to be named later, to be determined. Don't ruin that great finish, Tony Finn. Don't ruin it. Dozy, fantastic finish.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys, for your time and to keep the winning ways going here. Make sure you guys get over to WagerTalk.com and get Steve Merrill's and Tony Finn's picks and Rob Veno's and everybody else that appears here. You can get my 5-unit Major League Baseball play, and over 400 of you already have purchased that, so I'm very grateful for that. It's free, so let's make it an even 500 for those that didn't get it yet. And using the promo code Ryan7, you can get 7 days for $39, which is the cost of a 5-unit play. So you're basically getting a whole week for free today just by using that promo code. So on behalf of my co-hosts, don't forget to hit the bell and give us a like, and we'll see you on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Manny's Irish Pub. Don't forget, Paul Carr said bet England, -120. He's undefeated on my shows, 8-0. So what else can I say other than have a good weekend, and may all the wins be yours.
I have a win for you, Steve.